Cross check. No, CrossGen check. No, gen check. CrossGen check. Check. Check away.
Cross-generational, informational, positational, Checky McCheckersons of the blessed 101 journey check.
Where do you get journey? I think that says journey. Where? There. Oh, in the back? Okay. Yeah. Anyway. Checkity, check. I pulled Gogeta S2J4.
Finally.
You know who I also pulled? Vegito Blue. You know who I also pulled? Kefla. You know who I also pulled? Nova and Ice. You know who I also pulled? Trunks. And you know who I also pulled? Bojack. I pulled him. Did Andre pull Bojack? AJ? I wonder.
Do you want to respond to that?
Okay. Just for a little bit of insight to this. Yes, DBL did come out with what is it? I shouldn't be talking about this on a check.
No, the check. Let's get to the actual podcast.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the CrossGen podcast, and we are recording today on July the 4th here in the States, although you'll hear the episode on Tuesday. But happy 4th, everybody, to all of our American listeners. How you guys doing today? I am Walt.
This is... what's it going to be today?
It's July the 4th, so remember. Make it. We have to watch that show, by the way.
This is gonna
show.
be Cannonball AJ, and you'll see why.
This will be LSSJ, BE, Kaioken, MUI, 55, Eli.
So you're not going to be George Washington from that Netflix show?
Come on, there were cannonballs during the Revolution.
But that Netflix show that we are anticipating to watch.
I hardly want to think about it.
Huh?
Which one?
America, the motion picture. This one.
Oh yeah.
That animated masterpiece, as it looks like on Netflix, where they go crazy with American history, and apparently George Washington looks like Wolverine with his blades.
Right.
Yes.
Kicking ass and taking names for America, right?
Yes.
Right.
Or at least that's what the show intends to be like. So I don't know, whatever. It seems like a funny show. We should watch it. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. But before we do, just a quick note, guys, please rate, review, and subscribe to the show. And please make sure to like and share our show. That way, people can listen to our insane, crazy ramblings about stuff. Totally. And today's insane, crazy ramblings deals with Canon
balls.
Cannon balls.
See what I did there?
Yes.
Canon Dragon Balls.
Well, I didn't even think about that.
See? Look at that.
But it's not just Dragon Ball we'll be talking about.
We're going to be talking about canon both in movies and in anime and in manga and in general, right?
Just in general.
Canon. So that encompasses Marvel, DC, Star Wars, Dragon Ball, and other stuff. And what's the question that we're asking?
Well, first I want to ask you guys, what does canon mean to you? How would you define it?
Do you want me to start? Or Eli, do you want to tackle this question? Okay, I'll start. Yeah? No? Yeah?
No.
No?
No.
Yes,
Yeah?
No.
No? Okay.
maybe.
Canon, to me, is a way to make everything manageable. Canon, I think, probably came out of the fact that comic books had always had a very hard time dealing with storylines, especially year over year, decade over decade. Um, so it made it very difficult, right? Especially DC. DC has like one of the worst in terms of comic book canon because they're all over the place and they frequently have to reboot the universe to make everything make sense, right?
Well,
Yeah.
now it's not even about that. It's really just annual apocalypse. Here we
There
go.
you go. So I think canon is a way um, to kind of make sense of everything that's happened before it and kind of put a little nice little bow on everything. That's what canon is to me.
Hmm.
Eli, what does canon
Like
mean to
it's
you?
like it's like you said, canon is basically like a way of like, I guess, almost managing their universe so that they have like actual events that happened. It's like alternate. The way I picture it, it's also like alternate timelines.
Canon.
Can
Okay, interesting.
and like non-canon is like a different timeline.
Yes. So I guess I'll weigh in on this a little bit too. Canon, like you all have said so far, it's all about, you know, making things make sense and kind of like streamlining everything that you have so far into a consistent story. Um, but sometimes that leaves certain stories out,
Yep,
arguably.
definitely.
So I now pose you this question: do you think they do more damage than good, or vice versa?
Dun dun dun. Dun.
That's it. I mean, it all depends on the universe that you're talking about, because you have like Star Wars and stuff where, but I wouldn't say that it does any damage at all. The non-canon doesn't do really any damage at all to anything. It's just there, and it sucks that it's not part of that universe. So it's not really a matter of harming any universe or anything like that, right?
What about you, Walt?
I think canon, if it's done right, is a positive thing for viewers and readers. I think because and I look at we mentioned one of the things DC and the comic books, but I'm going to mention another example: X-Men within their own universe. They have a very difficult time of keeping canon together. So the X-Men, the Fox X-Men universe, because we haven't gotten them in the MCU yet, that's a jumbled mess. There's no other way to say it. I mean,
Yeah.
you can pick out, things from that universe where it's like, huh? But wait, 2 movies ago it was this. Now the next movie was this, and now 2 movies after that it becomes that. So I think canon is very beneficial, but you have to do it right because if you don't have canon, then you get what Fox had with the X-Men universe, which is all over the place, as
Yes.
opposed to what the MCU is doing, which is a very tight storyline, and all of their stuff is kind of flowing into it. They've kind of gotten rid of the stuff that doesn't count, unfortunately, the Netflix shows, but it looks like they're bringing them in.
Yeah.
Um, Agents of Shield was completely discarded, unfortunately, because that started out as a bad show, but ended up being pretty good. But again, there's also the other point where in Star Wars, um, fans who enjoyed the non-canonical stuff get upset because, well, it's non-canonical anymore.
And they're not able to interact with the characters they're currently
Right.
becoming invested in.
Until Star Wars starts to cherry pick and bring them in, kind of like what they did with Thrawn and things of that nature. So I think it's a good thing, but for certain fans, it may not be.
Okay, let's take a look at a few. The first one I'm going to bring up is a question of should we include things from non canon? And for this one, I'm going to look at Dragon Ball. So there's a property from Dragon Ball called Super Dragon Ball Heroes. And it does a couple of interesting things and tells not the best story, but some of the things that happen there, like I said, are pretty interesting. Like the most recent thing, Eli, Su- the advent of Super Saiyan Rose 3. Do you think something like that should be canon?
Uh, no, no,
No.
no, God, no. Why would you even? Why would you even want to? No, it's just not a good idea to include stuff like that. So it's yeah. Sorry, I'm just thinking about something.
Okay.
Super Saiyan 3 Rose Goku.
Super Saiyan Rose 3, Goku Black.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, no. But anyway, it's not a good idea to include these because it's all fan service. SDBH is just fan service at its greatest, right? So there's really no reason to include it into the original story. That's like the stupidest idea I've ever heard. Um, I mean, but yeah, it's not a good idea.
Interesting. So, something else that I found particularly interesting about Dragon Ball Heroes was the fact that remember when they fought Hearts for the first time
Yeah.
and he like took full advantage of the world seed and powered up? Apparently, that was a Zeno level threat.
Zeno.
And remember who fought
That's
him?
not a Zeno level threat. No, I think that was just like, it's not even like it was a mistype. I think it just showed how Hearts was like so self-absorbed that he thought that he actually stood a chance. But no, he's not a Zeno level threat at all. Nowhere even close.
Hmm. But you also have to think about because we frequently engage in discussions like well, this one has kind of taken a back burner because it's not even really a discussion between us anymore. Who's the stronger of the two fusions, Vegito or Gogeta? That used to be a discussion at one point.
Vegeta.
And one of the things that I remember citing in your defense was that Gogeta was stronger because he's able to rise to the occasion of a Zeno level threat. But now you can't use that argument anymore, technically, because it's a non canon property.
No, but look, it's different. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I don't think that really goes towards non-canonical or canonical because
Canonical.
because
Well, it kind
Broly.
of does, though, because you're trying to cite instances where you can point out who's the stronger of the two. And you normally do that in Dragon Ball by measuring up who they're fighting against.
I mean, okay, but like, um, yes, but like, there's it's not. The thing that I have to say about this, just real quick before we move on, Gogeta, there are plenty of instances where you could see how he is a stronger fusion. The best instance would be Broly. SDBH, yes, that's sort of an instance that shows that he's stronger, but
But
it's
it's
not
not canonical.
Yeah, so your only instance would be Broly, and Vegito Blue's instance would be Corruption Zamasu, which is why I'm saying, while yes, it does sort of have an impact on that feud, not as big as a difference as you might think.
but it does make conversations difficult when
Very.
you're trying to reach for, I guess, evidence or source material.
Sort of. But
So,
yeah,
in a way, you could kind of say canon versus non canon does a bit of a disservice to the discussion.
yeah, because it's like two different sources of information. That one you can't trust,
Or that you can't rely on.
one you can't rely on, and one you have to. One it's almost like the other one you have to like, almost I guess I don't know.
That's kind of what you have to follow.
You have to work on what you have now, and there's not that much information on actual canon.
Yeah, because previously Gogeta was a non canon character.
Yeah, Super Gogeta I believe is like the weak. It's like super duper weak in comparison to Vegeta, and that's the non-canon version. But now that they made him canon, that Super Gogeta is no longer even in existence. So it's almost like, yeah, it's like, yeah, it's not really. It doesn't work like that, right?
Yeah. And so I'm going to use this next item of discussion as a segue into the Star Wars. And and this segue is going to be talking about inclusion. So, me, as a Dragon Ball fan, I love Dragon Ball GT.
Disgusting.
And ever since Super came out, that kind of got thrown to the wayside because, at least before Super, I imagine it was canon.
Mm, I don't
No?
know if it was canon. I'm pretty sure it probably. You know what? Yeah, it probably was canon. Um, but
And I'm not
it's
going to
weird,
lie,
man.
I liked how satisfying the ending of GT was.
Mhm.
But then you had Super, which came along and changed a whole bunch of things. From Goku, well, Goku's mannerisms don't change that much, but I mean, that also makes sense because he's younger there too, quote unquote,
Goku
but
is
not by much
Goku is a little bit more serious though.
in GT.
No.
No, okay, no.
Super
Sorry.
Saiyan 4 Goku is
No,
different.
no, 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 no,
You
no, no,
can't
no.
not okay. When it comes to GT, you can't include Super Saiyan 4
I
because
can include Super
Super Saiyan 4
Saiyan
is a different
4.
Super Saiyan 4 Goku. I would consider a completely different character.
It's not a completely different character.
Yes, he does.
No, it's
He has a
not.
personality change there. Everything about him is different.
No, not everything about him is different. He takes more. No,
Super Saiyan 4 Goku is very serious, and when you compare that to base form and Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan 3 and below is like not very serious at all.
You don't remember the
Like
Fusion
V Baby,
13 fight,
Fusion
then.
13. Yeah, I get that. But Super Saiyan 4 Goku during GT, it's a completely different personality change. You have his voice change. He's definitely willing to take the fight seriously until there's points where he doesn't, like when he ate the Dragon Ball. That was sort of a
Well, he was
that
taking the
was
fight seriously there. He was actually trying to prevent Shenron from getting the Dragon Ball.
that's why I'm well, yeah, but like let's face it, MUI Goku was far more serious.
I
Tournament
technically
power,
that's also a personality change too.
tournament of
That's
power,
not
tournament of power. Goku was far more serious there.
I don't agree at all. The whole reason the Tournament of Power even began speaks to how not serious he was about it.
Yes, but that has no bearing over.
That does have bearing.
Yes, just because he wants stuff. You know what? This is a completely different conversation.
Okay,
that I'm not
but
gonna
so that was the that was the purported segue into the Star Wars discussion because, like we mentioned at the very beginning, there was previously an expanded universe that was set up for Star Wars. But then when Disney bought it, they decided to make all those stories, quote unquote, non canon.
and that's the biggest thing with the Star Wars universe, that the fans, they almost got onto the wrong step with Disney, or Disney actually got on, started with the wrong step with the fans, because, and you know what, there is a reason why Disney, I understand why Disney had to do it, because they did buy um the Star Wars franchise from George Lucas, and so they wanted to be able to tell their own stories apart from the main trilogies, right? The original trilogy, that was and the prequel era, right? And so it's kind of hard to move forward when you have all this expanded universe, which they now called, what is it, the Legendary Universe,
The
right?
Legends.
Star Wars Legends. It's kind of hard to move forward with the storytelling if you're beholden with all these stories. I mean, there's stories that happened, we're talking about before Star Wars, the Old Republic being one of them, right? Then you have all the tales that happen after the main movies, like for instance when Luke became bad, the Thrawn trilogy. It's difficult for Disney to move forward if you already have those stories out there. So I understand why they had to make all that stuff legends, because if they really wanted to tell their stories, you couldn't do it in the way that the Star Wars universe was set up. And the interesting thing is that those stories themselves, the ones that are considered legend, those weren't really canon either, because these stories were built out of people just grabbing the Star Wars universe. The only thing is that Lucas never really said you can't do it, but he never drove those people to kind of connect them to the universe. It was basically, you know what? Here's the Star Wars universe as I have constructed it. Tell your story. It doesn't have to connect to anything. Just tell your story. So even then, those stories weren't really truly considered canon.
Okay, so that's interesting. So then, would you say that non-canonizing it kind of does a disservice to that?
In the sense that, I mean, you got to look at it this way. Those stories are still out there. You can still read them if you want.
No, well, of
It,
course.
it's not like Disney decided, you know what, we're going to take all these stories and um get rid of them. Those stories are still out there. You can still go into a Barnes and Nobles or your favorite bookstore. You can download it on iTunes or whatever, and you can still read those stories. Um, they're not. They weren't considered canon back then, but the emphasis wasn't on that back then. Like everybody kind of knew in the back of the mind, this is not really Star Wars because Lucas really didn't touch this. But I think when Disney put that label on it, that infuriated the fans, because for fans of people that love those books and those stories, it was almost like Disney said, you know what, you don't matter, we don't care. You know what I'm saying? Those stories are now officially not Star Wars in a sense, right? That's basically what they said. They said they exist in a place where Luke Skywalker isn't running around on Tatooine. That exists in that alternate universe. It doesn't matter. So you took a series of stories that weren't canon and you made them non-canon again, right?
You doubled down on
You
it.
doubled down on it, which a lot of people didn't like. But what Disney has done, which is smart, is that they've taken some of those characters that were pretty popular with the fans, and they're slowly starting to bring them into the Star Wars
Mhm.
main universe, their Disney universe, right? They may not be telling the exact
Oh.
stories, but they're fitting them in their universe itself.
Do
Yeah.
I hear a comment in this corner?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah, but
think
it's
Eli's
it's
ready to go.
as you guys know, I just dislike the Star Wars universe, the Legends verse, as you guys like to say, as a whole, because you have to. It's like almost like you have to compare it to the original not the original non-canon, but you're comparing it to non-canon, right? That's
Well,
I compare it to non-canon at least.
so you gotta look at it this way. And even back then, the only things that were true canon was stuff that Lucas made, right? So you would you would put that as the original trilogy, right? Which we've all seen. The prequel trilogy, which some people love and some people don't, right? Um the I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna try and say it with a straight face. The holiday special,
Oh God.
Yes,
No.
right?
that should have been canon.
Well, it kind of is now,
Oh,
right?
Hell yeah!
Because Chewbacca's son was mentioned in one of the either the shows
Yeah, but Lucas disowned
or
that.
or whatever. Yeah, Lucas did not like that at all.
But
It's still amazing.
Disney,
Word for word.
that
Disney
was Lucas.
masterpiece.
This is Disney now.
Yeah, Disney kind of made that in a sense canon because they brought in
Yes.
what was Lumpy?
Lumpy.
Lumpy,
Yo,
right?
my guy.
Lumpy was the guy that they made canon.
I think.
Um, and I believe, and I'm not sure, but I believe the Ewok television shows were by Lucas. Although that I'd have to double
Oh,
check.
God.
You don't even know what that is.
Yo.
It was animated.
No, it wasn't. It was
Okay,
live
so
action.
no, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, that was way back then. I think it was either a series or a series of TV movies. I believe there was like 2 or 3 of them that were centered around the Ewoks.
Yes.
So-
Amazing.
Wow. Okay.
But everything else was not real, according to not canon. So, to your point, it's not, those things weren't really in universe, so you know you're not really dishonoring them in a sense.
Yeah, but you're comparing it, aren't you? I mean,
You're
you have
you're
Legends verse, which completely sucks right now, right? You have Bad Batch.
That's Legends verse.
No.
No, you're getting that
Wait.
completely confused.
What's the
Legends verse is like the original Thrawn books,
Oh,
KOTOR.
so then that's the good version. Is that canon?
No,
That's
those
not
are
canon.
not
Okay,
canon.
so
That's
then you're
Legends.
so
comparing Legends
games like
the one with
Republic
Starkiller.
Commando, Force Unleashed.
Force
Yeah, okay.
Unleashed.
But then,
Those are not canon
so then you're comparing the Legends verse, what I meant to say, to the actual Star Wars verse.
to the Disney Star Wars
To the
verse.
Disney verse.
Let's make that clear. Yeah, and I guess you can say that in a sense,
No, but you are.
but only the hardcore Star Wars fans that like read up on all those books.
Yeah, but
you know?
nobody's gonna know. We're talking about
Like the
hardcore.
casual fan wouldn't know about
Yeah, I
that
know.
stuff. You know what
I
I'm
know.
saying?
But
Like the casual
for us-
fan would see Thrawn in Rebels and say, "Oh, this is a new character to Star Wars." But the hardcore fans know, hey, Thrawn's existed way before that.
Yeah.
You know? So those people would be the ones doing the comparing. And now the question is, which one do you think is better, the new stuff or the old stuff? That's the question that everybody has, you know?
Yeah. So now I want to look at a kind of duality that we're starting to see now. So you have the poster boy for canon right now, which is Marvel. And in opposition and relation to that, you now have, or you know what, let me rephrase that. The MCU. I'm pretty sure the comics are doing their own, like, they're doing their thing.
They do
So
their thing,
yeah.
yes.
And I'm sure DC's doing their own comic thing too, though if I remember correctly, for the most part, it's pretty much streamlined. I mean, you've had the New 52, Rebirth, but yeah, that's that. But I'm going to focus on the movies right now.
Deceased, right? Weren't they doing that where
I
everybody
think
died,
so,
I think,
yeah.
or something like that?
You have the poster boy MCU, and maybe, well, no, the shows, like you said, don't really don't count, except for the new ones now.
Right.
But then you have the DCEU, which tried and failed, but then they went and did something different. So with the MCU, you have the very awesome arcs, the very beginnings, I guess the search for the Infinity Stones, and then you had the Infinity War kind of thing. You had your nice little phases.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas DC now, what they're going to do is they're going to keep things separate
For the most part.
for the most part. Because we already had, well, Aquaman very loosely, though not really, was part of the whole overarching story. I don't think. What's the other one that came out? Wonder Woman was pretty. What you call it? Was pretty heavily, I guess, canon.
Mm-hmm.
You also had, what else came out? Not Suicide Squad. Not Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad is
All right.
best left.
But but of the non-canon movies, I think it's would you consider Wonder Woman 84 part of the?
Loosely.
Okay, loosely.
So Aquaman I think is the closest to the the DCEU, along with Shazam, because Shazam technically had Henry Cavill at the very end of the show.
Well,
Technically,
quote unquote.
right? Exactly. So, there is that, I guess, but I think Wonder Woman. Well, Wonder Woman 84 was so bad, I basically forgot that whole movie.
Oh God.
So it's kind of difficult to say yes or no. But they didn't reference pretty much anything that much in
Yeah.
that movie, right?
Well, they only reference probably the previous Wonder Woman movie before.
Right. So, and the previous Wonder Woman movie didn't reference anything in the DCU either because it happened before Justice League.
Yeah.
So there's a very, very loose thread, like super loose, in the DCEU.
So I guess what I want to ask now is,
Does DCU suck?
no. Oh, it does. I'll give you that. Well, Batman looks like it's going to be interesting, and that one's definitely not going to be part of their established
And neither
canon.
is Joker, right?
Yeah,
Joker
neither.
is totally different.
That's another one. So I want to ask you guys this: Joker was pretty good, and that wasn't canon. MCU is good because it's canon. Do you think that? I'm trying to think of a way to phrase this.
Which strategy is better?
Which strategy would you think is ultimately better? Because with canon, you have to keep track of every single thing you do and make sure it doesn't get messed up, or else you become the Fox universe. But on the other hand, while the characters might not necessarily be interconnected with each other heavily, what the DCEU is doing right now is much easier, and it gives you a much greater amount of creative reign to do things. And that's kind of the beauty of what the Star Wars expanded universe was.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what I want to ask you guys now is, which opinion would you ultimately prefer? The single creative vision, or the very loose creative vision that is kind of, I guess, freer to be itself? Because that's kind of how I look at this. I just want to know what you guys think.
Honestly, I don't know. I would much prefer going along the more looser, right? The more looser version, because there's a lot more you could do with that, right?
Like Joker.
Joker, like you said. And there's a but we had a conversation about this. I'm not gonna get into that. There's a lot more you could do with that. You could bring in a lot more stuff, especially for like, you know, you have wait,
MCU,
MCU and
the DCEU.
the DCEU, but for the
Is it
looser
even
version,
called that anymore?
I
right?
probably not.
Did
Probably
they
not.
even call that at the beginning and stuff?
I think it was called that at the beginning. I
So,
don't see it calling. I don't see them calling it the DCCU.
or the DCFU? No, the DC film universe.
Yes.
But honestly, that's what they did. The DCFU. Honestly, what they did at a point. But
saying.
anyway,
Right? You have like what was it? The Snyder cut, right? There's
and that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, that's why I was saying I don't want to get into that, but if we were to go with the Snyder cut, there's so much more you could do with that, right?
That's technically its own non-canon property.
I know. That's why I'm saying you have more freedom there than in terms of the DCEU.
Yeah. And so I guess the final point I want to raise is, should we continue going forward with setting up these like extensive canons? Because one of the drawbacks that that you've raised on multiple occasions, Walt, is that the more you expand your canon verse, the more required reading slash viewing you have to do. So that makes it incredibly difficult for onboarding fans to like be thrust into these universes. So should we start finding alternative ways to be structuring these movies?
um, it's interesting because I look at Disney and I see two different type of strategies. Now, Warner Brothers and the DC universe, they've kind of just said, screw it, we can't keep up with this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do standalone movies that kind of touch upon each other but are not, visibly connected to it, right? Disney with Star Wars and Marvel has done the other thing. They said, you know what, we're going to treat our properties more like TV shows, right? Where everything is connected, everything is important to everything else. I would say that there are two strategies that Disney's employing with both Marvel and Star Wars. Star Wars, what they're trying to do, and this is where my point was, where they're making it too hard because it's kind of inside baseball type of stuff, where um Star Wars is not only just about the movies, but it's also about the TV shows, it's also about the books, it's also about the comics. And so it does become a thing where it's like you're putting too much emphasis on the main storyline in too many different mediums, right? Marvel, however, is doing it very, very differently, which is interesting because they both reside under the Disney Plus banner or the Disney banner, right? Marvel, what they've chose to do, and Kevin Feige has even spoken on this, is that the main storyline runs through the movies. So for the casual fans, just watch the movies and you're fully caught up. The comics exist on their own. right? So for comic fans, you're good. You and for the casual fans that watch only the movies, if you're interested, you can go into comics, but you don't have to. And more importantly, the TV shows. The TV shows exist to enrich the movies, not to build the foundation for the movies, which is totally different than from what Star Wars does. So you can watch the shows and gain a better appreciation of a character like Loki, understand why Wanda is as cuckoo as she can be, right? WandaVision. I'm speaking about that show. Understand that Falcon, why he's going to do some of the things that he might do in later movies, because now that he's Captain America, right? But you don't need to watch the shows to understand the movies. And one of the things that he did mention is that there will be no major villains introduced in the TV shows. Those are for the movies because the movies exist as the main storyline. So there's different ways of doing it. I've just mentioned three different ways of how you treat canon. Me personally, I like the Marvel way of doing things because I do like the fact that you'll watch a movie and then something that happens in there pays off in another place, and it's a very tight storyline. But not every studio can do it, as Warner Brothers has shown, as Star Wars has shown. I would even venture to say a little bit of the Legend verse in Godzilla. They're doing it as better than some other places, but then you had the failed MonsterVerse with the Mummy
Oh
and
God.
stuff like that,
Yeah.
which
Oh no.
that never even got off the ground.
Oh God.
So it really depends on the studio and the people that are in place in leadership roles on how to treat canon well and how to create these storylines that kind of flow along. You know what I mean?
Well,
Does that make sense?
Godzilla's interesting actually because they have what is it? One, two, three, four. They have about maybe five or four different canons because the show I wouldn't even really say that that's canonized. I mean not canon. That's not like a canon. Like most of those movies were independent from one another until you get to the very end with Mechagodzilla and the Terror of Mechagodzilla. Um, the only real time that the or probably the most apparent instance of canon in the Godzilla universe was the Heisei series, which you're going through now, Eli,
Yeah.
and you see it too. Most, if not most of the characters you've seen so far, you have seen in a previous movie, and it is the exact same Godzilla. Um, by the time you get to the Millennium series, it gets a little choppy because Godzilla 2000 and Godzilla versus Megaguirus, they're pretty connected. They're kind of connected, so to speak. Um, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla and Godzilla Tokyo SOS, they are directly connected to each other. Giant Monsters All Out Attack is not connected to either. And then, am I forgetting one? Probably not. So I'm going to go ahead and do the last one, which is Final Wars. But that's not connected to anything in the Millennium series. That's actually connected to the Heisei series. And now you have the Legends verse, and on the Japanese end, you have what's going on right now called the Reiwa era, where again, they're not necessarily connected to one another, or at least as far as I can see, because you've already had Shin Godzilla. And while it looks very similar to Shin Godzilla right now, I haven't finished the show, but singular point, it stands to reason that it is while there are similarities to Shin Godzilla, it is markedly different.
Okay.
And I'm not going to touch the other. I'm not going to touch Godzilla Earth. Sorry.
No,
I'm
Godzilla
not
Earth-
touching
No,
Godzilla
Godzilla
Earth.
Earth was awesome.
No, I'm sorry.
Godzilla,
See,
Dad.
I will give you this. It's
Mew.
part of the Reiwa era, so to speak. But again, they exist as distinct from one another. It's kind of following the Showa pattern right now. Or rather, yeah, the Showa, the Millennium Series pattern,
Actually, I
pattern
actually
right
like-
now.
I like the side projects, meaning like Shin and.
That's not
Earth.
technically a side project. That's part
Compared
of
to the
the
Legends
era.
verse.
Oh, well, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Compared to the Legends
And that's
verse.
non-canon. All of those technically.
No, it's not that they're non-canon. They're not canonized. So in canon, everything is connected. With the Reiwa era, again, at least as far as I've seen, nothing is interconnected.
Yes. They're just in a completely different alternate universe.
So to speak, yes.
So it's not canon.
Again, it's canon as far as they're all part of the Reiwa era. It's not canon in the fact that they're interconnected with one another.
Oh, whatever. I don't know. But
Like the same people are, or rather, the same company is overseeing the creation of these properties. That's Toho.
so this is Toho's universe.
Well, yes, this is the Toho verse, which again we're calling the Reiwa era.
Oh, okay, okay. So now. And yeah.
It's interesting because that property, the Godzilla property, is being run by two studios, which is a little weird, right?
Yeah. Well, technically, if I remember correctly, Legendary's term is coming up,
Right.
and then Toho has to decide if they're gonna let them continue or not.
Don't.
Okay, as much as I like the Reiwa era so far, well, parts of it, I actually enjoy the Legends verse more, believe it or not.
I don't like them. They screwed up the Legends completely. See, this is the thing about canon properties. Canon properties always suck in comparison to non-canon.
Well, technically, both are canons.
Okay, well-
They're just separate canons.
Yeah. Forget it. Forget it. We're going off topic now. Alright. But anyway. Godzilla is a completely different.
Yeah, Godzilla is a different
Godzilla-
beast.
Godzilla it has something to do with canon and non-canon, but that's just way too complex to even talk about, really. Because you have Heisei, you have Shoho, and whatever, all that. It's just Godzilla is to the point where you just don't understand what's real and what's not, because there's just too many properties for Godzilla, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
It's different properties. It's different directors. It's different styles in how to treat Godzilla. Because in some of them, Godzilla is good. Some of them is bad. Some of them he fights for the Earth. Some of them he fights for kids, right? And some of them he's.
I think
just
that's
bent-
Gamera.
Oh, it's
yeah,
Gamera. Well, wasn't there the one where he was on Monster Island with the kid?
That's okay. That's a little different. Godzilla's Revenge is a
There you
whole
go. That's the
different.
one.
That is like a
Yes.
completely different arena right there.
That is
That's a
amazing.
microcosm in the Showa era.
That is literally amazing.
But it does exist.
Yes, it does. It is. Yeah.
I think that's the one that I'm kind of referencing. In terms of in terms of kids and stuff. And then you have Godzilla where he's out to kill the world, right? So, and then you have your animated, which we're not even going to get into, right?
Yes.
I happen to like the design of Godzilla Earth. I'm not too crazy about how they did Godzilla in those three. What are they? Movies, I guess.
Yeah, they're movies. They're anime
But
movies.
they're awesome though. It's such a different.
It is a different take, but Mecha
King
Godzilla.
Okay.
Ugh.
Mechagodzilla sucks.
Mecha Godzilla
no.
is a city, right?
He's an entire city.
That
about King
was
Ghidorah?
weird.
And just forget him for a second because I know what he's gonna say.
No,
I know what he's gonna say. What about
absolutely
King Ghidorah?
not.
King Ghidorah, remind me what King Ghidorah was. He
was
was
like a
more
snake.
like a
He was a sick.
he was
Okay.
made out of energy, right?
He was a sixth dimensional noodle.
No, stop! Don't say that because then now you're giving him the impression that it sucks by saying
Because-
it's a noodle.
I remember
It's a
I
snake.
wasn't.
It's a snake, basically.
I have to
Fine.
look at it again because I
Oh.
don't remember too much about him. I think I was a little disappointed when I saw King Ghidorah.
Hold on. You gotta see it.
Because it was disappointing. It was.
Wasn't he like made out of energy or something like that?
Yes, he was like he literally existed in a whole other dimension.
Yeah.
No,
That-
That's not King Ghidorah.
guys
That's
suck.
not.
You guys suck.
No, listen. I understand that, but King Ghidorah traditionally is like an alien. He's
That's
tangible.
so alien.
No,
though.
he's tangible, but over there they made him into like a being of light.
But that's alien for you. That's literally what alien is.
That's
King
not
Ghidorah
alien.
is-
That's supernatural
No.
at that point.
Yeah, I think that's where it
No,
is.
that's not
they
supernatural.
made him feel a little bit ghosty.
You want this to be you call this alien. This is alien to you. This is alien to you.
I love those designs.
I
of
love
King-
them too,
King
but that's
Ghidorah.
not alien. That's not the impression that I get from them. That's what you would
Well,
see in
but
a
you-
medieval sort of thing.
But see, that's the point. I think that's where you're getting it a little bit weird because you know what? You have the mythology of dragons. What happens if in this universe they got the notion of dragons because King Ghidorah visited them once before? You know what I'm saying? That's where remember dragons and mythology, they're based on other things. So in this case, you can make the case that, you know what, we saw dragons, but it was actually King.
It was actually
Ghidorah.
an alien.
Yeah,
No.
it's actually an alien.
That's
You know?
stupid. I hate to say it. I do not like that. The whole point of an alien is that he's an alien. He's not a dragon. And when you have dragons, when you hear dragons, the immediate thing is that it's immediately it comes to mind that it's a medieval. It's an earth-based thing. This looks way too earth-based. That's why I'm saying the way I picture aliens is nothing to be like earth-based. That's what I love about Godzilla Earth so much. Especially they took such a different approach to it. They tried to make it not like freaking like I said, earth-based. Not to make it earth-based. They tried to take it to an alien level.
Well, the other approach is to take a look at guys like Gigan.
Okay, that's definitely an alien. You can't tell me anything about
Wait,
that.
Gigan?
Is Mogera considered an alien?
Oh
Or-
no.
I
Well, I think in his inception he came from space. I'm not too clear on Mogera's origins, but as far as the Heisei series goes, no, he was
Mogera
completely
was-
manufactured
yeah,
on
he
Earth.
was- yeah.
I don't know. Gigan doesn't seem.
Are you kidding
He
me?
seems too mech.
Are you actually kidding me?
That seems like an over the top alien.
He's a cyborg.
That's an over the top alien. That's way too. See, that's why I love Shin Godzilla so much.
Shin Godzilla is scary.
Shit, but he's alien almost.
That's not
But he's
no.
not- but Godzilla's not an alien.
No.
I know, but the whole point is that
Godzilla is a creature born
yeah,
out of
by the nuke, and I've heard it
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
I
yeah,
know
exactly.
how Godzilla was born. But
Godzilla. The Shin Godzilla does look alien though.
but
I will
that's
will
an
grant you
alien
that.
as hell. That's
know?
I
alien
think
as hell.
The most alien Godzilla looks in that movie is when or rather, he's in transition of
Oh, that's
becoming his
Slug.
final form.
That's Slug.
No, the mini humanoid Godzillas.
Oh, the little ones that come out of his tail.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
that looks alien as hell to me.
Yeah, but it's
You know what looks really alien, and not to get away, but I'll give you an example of a creature design that really looks alien. Clover from Cloverfield,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Mind Flayer from Stranger Things.
Yes. Those are alien looking
But I don't.
animals.
I really just don't like the fact
But
that.
you got to remember, Godzilla is a creature from the 50s.
I know that, but I
So-
don't like the fact that everything. It has to be a dinosaur. It has to be an Earth-based animal, like King Kong, for instance. He's just a big. He's just a big ape, big monkey.
But
and
again,
then,
that's why I mentioned it. Godzilla and those monster movies are
They're from a different
they're
time.
from a different time. So there was the things that people were fascinated wasn't really that much. It was more dinosaurs. A lot of people were fascinated with dinosaurs and
that's
stuff.
why I love
you know?
Godzilla Earth, because it's not just dinosaurs. Dinosaurs, you could say what you want. Dinosaurs are cool, but if you're doing a Godzilla property, it gets a little bit old. At least for me, when you're doing the same design over and over again.
Okay, so let me
We got off topic.
No, we did. But that's
Yeah.
okay.
I'm willing to talk about this a little bit
let
more.
let me say this then. What would happen if they drastically changed the way Vegeta looks?
Well, it all depends on
Why
what you
does
mean.
he look human if he's an alien?
Ooh.
I want to search this up. I wonder if people have. I remember Vegeta.
See, and that's kind of what I'm trying to say is that, you know what, these are established properties where the characters have already been, they're well loved the way that they are. If they came and changed Vegeta in that sense to make him like an
But
alien,
no,
make him look like
it's-
something from Star Wars, like make him look like a
It's
Kaminoan.
different though here.
You know what I'm
It's
saying?
way different because for
Why?
Godzilla,
It's
they've been
really not.
ever since when it first came out, they've been changing it. It's different with Vegeta because he was meant to look the way he was. Godzilla,
And
on
why
the other
wasn't
hand,
Ghidorah why isn't Ghidorah meant to be the way he was?
Ghidorah and Godzilla were they've been changed though, like
Not-
countless times.
Not by a market amount.
Godzilla,
only-
you had the blue Godzilla, the one that we all hate. His design,
Blue.
shoot, what's his? The one that looks more like a T-Rex.
Gino?
Oh God! But
That's
an
also
and
that's an
that's-
anomaly.
and that's a perfect
anomaly.
example. You changed them to make him look different,
He
and
said-
everybody hated him.
But he said he liked that design. AJ.
I said I liked the movie. I didn't say I necessarily liked the design.
He looked like an iguana in that movie.
But it's better when you have different takes on things.
Everybody hated that look.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question. Did you like the look of Mecha Godzilla in the new film Godzilla vs. Kong?
To be honest, at first I did like it.
At first.
At first.
What happened then?
There's nothing. The only reason
He
why
looks
I don't
weird
like
now,
it,
right?
The only reason why I don't like it is the arms. Otherwise, they had a really good design there. It was different. The only thing, it's different when you screw up designs. It's different when you're screwing up designs, and it's different when it's a different design. You don't make the mistake of the reason why Gino sucked, and Mechagodzilla sucked. The reason why is because their designs are trash. But you can still make them different, and it'll still be good.
But
Do
that's-
not make that
Exactly,
mistake.
and
That's what
King
they've been
Ghidorah's
doing now.
design in Godzilla Earth was bad.
No.
Yes.
What's that snake underneath the ocean? What's his name?
Oh, Manda?
Manda. Wait, let me see him again because I really.
Manda hasn't changed much. Godzilla.
No,
you can make the
Manda
case-
hasn't changed a lot. Even in the new Singular Point,
Yeah.
maybe his head looks a little different, but
Do we like the way Rodan looks in Singular Point?
I think they
But
made him look too
that's-
much like a
But
Pteranodon.
look, you
but
can't
I
make the
can
mistake
kind of appreciate it though.
you can't make the mistake of having of the problem of why these designs suck. The reason why I hate that design in Singular Point is because he's just too bright, and that's it.
So basically, what it is, and we need to get back on topic and
Yeah.
kind of wrap
We
this
really do.
up also.
Sorry, guys.
But you know what? Design is also very personal to everybody. So what you may like may not be the same thing that AJ likes. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine. That's the way it's supposed to be. You know, I happen to like, in terms of Mechagodzilla. You know which Mechagodzilla I like? I like Kiryu.
Fine.
He's
Yes,
more
amazing.
traditional. You know, he likes the older
But
Mechagodzilla.
that's only because
So
it holds
again,
nostalgic value to you guys. That's the only reason why
but then
you
if
guys
if
like those
that's the case,
designs.
then I'd be like AJ and I say, you know what, the first Mechagodzilla is my favorite because that's the first one I saw.
Yeah, but
You know,
the,
but it's not. I happen to like the newer, updated Kiryu.
the reason why I like the reason why I think Godzilla fans hate King Ghidorah's design is because the only thing that these Godzilla fans like are the original, because it holds nostalgic value.
And
You
what's
cannot
wrong with
use that in an
though?
argument on, because that's stupid. You're not giving the design the credit it deserves when all you want is the original design. That's stupid.
You can no, you don't. You're making it seem like we're trying to rip it out tick for tack. Like they changed King Ghidorah's design in the MonsterVerse because technically his wings aren't supposed to go out like this, like an actual bat or well, a dragon. They're technically supposed to be stiff like this. So little design changes like that, that's okay. But when you go and like completely refashion them in a way that's almost unrecognizable, then no, that's harder to like. And it's like he said, if they went and changed Vegeta like that, you would definitely have something to say
But
about
Vegeta
that.
is different because
No, it's really not
he
different.
hasn't been changed at all.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly my point. Ghidorah has been changed. He's gone through the
He's
Mecha
gone
God
very
King Ghidorah.
subtle things, and you can make the case that Vegeta has changed over the years with different animators. He has looked a little bit different. He hasn't been the same.
No, animators are completely different. Different.
Okay,
topics.
let me put it this way.
It's really not, because you know what? That's a choice that those animators are making in the design. Remember, there's the classic Vegeta that has the battle armor suit. Then there's the one that just has the blue suit.
That's clothing. That's not.
But
animated.
it's still
It's
a
still
design.
part of design.
It's still a
Okay,
design.
but that's clothing. It's different when you're actually changing the physical human.
There are the
textures.
faces have changed over the years also.
Yeah,
Ye-
they have.
Only because he went from young to old. That's
Not even
really,
that.
No, not
You
even
look
that.
at the way they used to do Dragon Ball Z at its inception versus now, there is a big change.
The only thing I will say is Dragon Ball GT Vegeta sucked, but that's a completely different story.
But see, there's a design change there because
they gave him a mustache.
But I think that's the point that
That's
we're
literally
trying to
the
make.
point.
You're
No.
complaining.
The reason-
Wait, listen to me, and I'm gonna let you make your point. Right? You're complaining that we don't like Godzilla Earth's King Ghidorah because they changed him drastically, right? And you're saying that we're at fault for doing that, but we mentioned Vegeta with mustache, and you hate that,
No,
and
you
you're
wanna
saying
know
that
why?
it's okay.
You want to know why?
That's a design change, also, right?
You could look.
You
could
can't argue.
My point
you
is, you're
can't-
making that you can't. You have to make the distinction between this and that. The reason why I don't like Vegeta with the mustache, because Vegeta with the mustache doesn't look good. If you gave Vegeta a fade and it actually looked good, then it would look good.
But see, that's my point. You don't like him because you don't think that the mustache looks good. We don't like that Ghidorah because we don't think that Ghidorah looks good. There is a personality aspect to this that you can't deny. You can't trash somebody for saying you don't like that because it's different, but then at the same time say, well, I don't like that character because it's different. You're
Yeah.
making
It's a
the
different-
argument for
It's
us.
really not.
Vegeta and King Ghidorah are a completely different.
Not really.
They're
Yes,
really
it is.
not.
Not
Yes,
really.
it is. By a
Not
long
really.
shot.
It's
I
it's
mean-
design changes. in GT they decided
Okay.
let's give Vegeta a mustache.
All right. Okay.
Vegeta with the mustache.
All right, guys.
looks
Let's
bad though.
okay.
Not because of nostalgic value.
Let's actually break it up now. We got like so far removed, it's ridiculous.
Anyway, back to canon, people. That happens frequently on the show, so get used to it, guys.
Thanks
You know.
God they made GT Vegeta.
Okay.
canon.
So the
Let's look to wrap this up because I think I don't even remember what we said before.
The
So.
the consensus is you like the way Marvel does its canon. What about you?
Marvel does a pretty good canon. Marvel does an amazing canon. Are we just gonna like go through all of them?
No, like the question really was, do you think we should continue looking for more ways to organize our movies and shows so that you don't always have to rely on canon?
I don't know.
Because it's like you said, with the DC, you got some creative freedom. But canon, you have some, but it's mostly one vision.
Look,
Is canon sus?
how does that even make sense? How does that even make sense? Is canon sus?
Yeah.
Bro, what?
Okay, but go on, Eli. Go on.
Right.
I just had to drop that.
Look, the organization between canon and it has been a problem, but like there you have like universes like Marvel, the MCU, right? I don't really know how to say this. Repeat the question.
So, do you think we should continue looking for other ways to organize our movies and shows and properties?
I don't really think that the disorganization is a problem per se.
That's kind of what's at the heart of this, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's weird. Okay. Let's just put it this way. It all depends on what property you have. Marvel, they have a really good organization. You have Godzilla, which it's just
it's jumbled. I'll give you that. It's
not,
jumbled. I'll give you that.
bro. It's not good at all with their organization. DCU. I mean, I'd say that they're pretty organized for the most part until they went for the Snyder cut. And
yeah.
you know
Okay.
the Joker thing, right?
Yeah.
Joker and Snyder cut. That's when they started to get a little bit disorganized. Dragon Ball. They have it pretty organized. You can distinctly tell which is non-canon and canon.
Pretty much.
But I don't think that's the main problem. I think it's all about bringing non-canon storylines into this, right? Because you have like Star Wars, where they're canon, they're trying to bring all these. They're trying to basically just. We've said this like countless times, and I know I'm going back to it, but like they're making their universe so small, right? They're just using the same canon characters. So I think it's time that we don't jumble up the organization, but it's time to start making that line, I guess, a little bit less clear. It's weird to say because I want to bring non-canon into canon, but that technically be disorganizing it, wouldn't it?
No, not necessarily.
Oh, son, yeah.
I mean, look at what they did with Thrawn. Technically, in the non-canon, he is a general who rose to power after the Empire crumbled. But what did they do? They repurposed him to be a what do you call it? An admiral that is working while the Empire is still in function. So maybe he's not, because at least as far as I remember in the books, he was the top dog after the Empire fell when it came to the Empire. But again, they repurposed him for Rebels so that maybe he's not the top dog, but he's still a top dog. And like, they found a way to work him in.
Yeah. But yeah.
So he still fit within the frameworks. It's all about where you put these characters.
Just that seems like it's the main problem. because yeah, I mean you have. Well, you know what? Well, in geeky people's shoes, I guess you, depending on who you are, of course. I guess you make this. You compare it to non-canon. So yeah, just bring non-canon into canon, and try and keep it as organized as you can. But don't be like Star Wars, where they bring in non-canon characters and then they start reusing them to the point where it's like, where it's just boring.
All right. Well, that's a wrap, folks. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed our semi-coherent discussion of
Rambling
canon.
about Godzilla design.
Yeah.
But it was all fun. It's all good. Uh, yeah. So
As I say, it's a wrap. Oh wait, it's a trap. No, it's a wrap. Right?
it's a
It's
crap.
It's a crap.
No, no.
Twap. It's a twap. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so we're gonna call it a day. We're gonna go out. It's July 4th. Let's go crash some barbecues. Let's see if we can. Yeah.
Yeah.
July 4th, man.
And fireworks. We're gonna
Fireworks.
blow up
Explosions.
Need fireworks. All right, guys. Great episode. Thank you for joining us. This is Walt
Cannonball AJ.
and Design Destroyer Eli.
What? No. Stop. Let me.
Oh, he's powering up.
Let me. I want to give it the most non-canon name possible. LSSJ. BE. Rose. Kaioken times 1 million. MUI. 5. 50. No, 9 million. What is Majin. Time breaker. Limit breaker.
This is gonna be longer than the episode. Gosh.
Launch transformation. You know how launch transform and stuff. Full power Roshi. Oh, full power. Final form. Third form. Gogeta fused with Zeno.
Any day now.
With Vegito Blue. With Fusion Zamasu and Corruption Zamasu. And all the characters you can possibly think of. Majin Buu absorbed.
2 hours later.
Oob absorbed. And Baby absorbed. EOI. Yes. I am the ultimate god.
With all of that said, are you going?
Sidekick of Grand Peace.
Okay. With all of that said, can you do the tagline?
What's the tagline? Oh yeah. Oh shoot.
Oh my gosh.
May our Kame Gallic Flash cross again. Oh, bro.
May our canonical paths cross again.
Kame Flash, Kame, kill.
Bye, people.